Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be all about chores and allowances and the expectations that we have for our kids at different age levels regarding that stuff. If you're interested in that, stick around. I'm going to share everything that we do and the system that we use in our family. Hang on. Alright guys, if you don't know me, my name is Mattia Goff, and we have 3 kiddos ages 7, about 2.5, and 9 months old. This obviously is going to have nothing to do with the 9-month-old at all, but our 2-year-old does help in with the chores and the different activities that we do in our family, so she will totally be included in this as well. Give you an idea of maybe what you can expect of a more toddler age child and a grade school age child, and kind of how that sets a foundation for later on in life up into your teenage years. That's something that I kind of wanted to cover. So this seems to be a subject that is just on a lot of people's minds right now. I don't know why exactly, but a lot of mom conversations that I've had lately, this kind of thing just keeps coming back up. And I think partly it's because school is starting again and everyone is trying to figure out, how do chores and things fit in with schoolwork and homework and home stuff in general, and just how do you get it all in there? How do you make it fun? How do you get on a system that is sustainable, that keeps on working? So I can tell you that we have kind of been through a lot of trial and error, and if there's like one big takeaway from this video, I want you to take this home. Whatever system that you have today, don't worry that you're going to be stuck in that forever. You can change it tomorrow. You can change it next year when they're older. You can change it up whenever you need to. That was one of the things that I had a hard time with when I was finding something. I was like, I need to find something that is just going to work, and it's going to work forever, and then I can just kind of add kids to it as I go. And that obviously wasn't working at all. So I am just a lot more flexible with the way that I do things. So everything that I'm going to show you that we're doing now, it's what's working for us right now. And I just kind of adjust accordingly. But you know what? We might not be doing this in a month, or we might not be doing this next year when, I have a 3-year-old and an 8-year-old. Things are going to just be adjusted accordingly. So before I show you exactly what it is we do, I want to kind of explain our mindset behind this, because I think that that's really important. You have to know exactly why you are having the expectations that you do for your kids before you come up with, any sort of system, especially if you are incorporating any kind of allowance or money into the equation. So when I was growing up, I didn't have an allowance. I had a lot of chores and a lot of things that I did. I was raised as an only child though. So even though I didn't have an actual allowance, all of my stuff was paid for, any sort of extracurricular stuff that was paid for, lessons, any sort of outings and things like that. That stuff was pretty much covered. If I wanted something extra, maybe there was a deal that we had to work out. It wasn't free per se. It wasn't just given. But I didn't really need that kind of allowance money until I got older. Now, I started actually working when I was either 12 or 13 years old. I was taking some horseback riding lessons, but those were kind of expensive, so I started working as a stable hand a couple of days a week, and that paid for my weekly lesson. That turned into a more full-time job, and then just kind of snowballed and turned into a lot of things throughout my teenage years mostly. And so, as a fairly young teenager, I actually had a job where I was making money and I was able to start paying for my own stuff at that point. But prior to that, I didn't actually have an allowance. And likewise, my husband Chris, he also started working when he was a teenager, and an actual job and things like that where he was earning money. So from our perspective as parents, working, having a job is a very beneficial thing. It's a good thing to have work, to have a job. Working as a teenager has a lot of benefits. It teaches you responsibility, very basic life skills. It starts to teach you about, paying bills and doing your taxes and all of these things that you really need to know when you're actually an adult. It does another great thing for you when you're a teenager. If you are working, you have a whole lot less time to get in trouble, to be on video games and social media and all those other things that we would prefer our kids do a lot less of anyway. So that's kind of getting a little off subject and is definitely down the road for our kids. But just as speaking as somebody who was working as a teenager, my husband was working as a teenager, it taught us a lot of stuff that was very beneficial when we actually got to adulthood and we were running our own lives per se. But what we are doing with our kids is we're laying a foundation for these future steps that they are going to have to take into adulthood or going into adulthood. Everybody's got to have a job, and whether, that's something that actually starts for them as a teenager or when they become an adult, however that ends up working for our kids or for your kids or whoever, a foundation really should be laid. It makes that transition a lot less painful, honestly. So with our family, one of the things is, there's different categories for things. So there are certain chores per se. There are certain things that you do because you are a part of this family and everybody needs to help out. And then there are certain things that you can do as actual paid jobs. And right now for our kids, what payment looks like is sometimes it's money, and sometimes it's more of a reward. Like we get to go do something fun, something that you've been wanting to do, something that you've been asking for. Sometimes that is payment too. And again, our oldest one is 7. So half the time she would rather do something along those lines. She would rather go out for ice cream as opposed to earning money to go buy ice cream at some point, if that makes sense. And again, that's just something that we found works for us right now. We have kind of like a little, we'll say third subcategory of, not so nice things that you just have to do, not necessarily because you're going to be getting paid for them, and not because it's just a normal thing that we all have to do all the time, but this is just a job. You don't want to do it, but you know what? We got to just push through and do it, and it's a life lesson. Just got to deal with it and you'll be better for it later on. That's basically what it comes down to. Just stop whining and do it. Okay, so now that we got all of that philosophical stuff over with, I will explain exactly what it is we do with our kids. I have, just for myself, a daily block schedule system. That's what works for me. I've been doing a block schedule for probably close to a year now, and maybe a little less than a year. And it's just something that has worked really well for me. I didn't originally think that it was, but I love it now. So my daily block schedule, if you don't know what block schedules are, I'll do another video on that maybe at some point. If you have never heard of or don't follow Jordan Page, the Fun, Cheap, or Free Mama, there we go. You should totally follow her. She's kind of like the block schedule queen. I love her. She has some really great suggestions on there. My block schedule is, modified, of course. It's what works for me and our family. But there are different ways that you can do this. If you have enough kids, I think having a block schedule just for your kiddos would be a great idea. Right now, again, just for us and our family, it works really well if I take Celeste, our oldest daughter, if I take her tasks and I just kind of add them to my own schedule. She likes that. She likes being able to sort of look over everything that that I have to do through the day and kind of see where her tasks sort of mix in through there. And it just kind of helps us all stay on track. So I'll kind of show you exactly how I write that down in a second. But before I actually get into that, maybe let me explain a little bit as far as what it is, what kind of chores that we expect from our oldest and our younger one who's doing chores right now. Celeste is 7, almost 7.5. And we've been having her do things, honestly, from a really young age. And, as we've just kind of added more, or maybe expected a little bit more more quality out of those chores, if that makes sense. So, our 2-year-old, for instance, we have her, help out with things also. But, we obviously don't expect things to be perfect. So, like, if she is expected to, let's say, sweep up a mess that she just made, I have a little broom and a little dustpan for her, and this is something that she actually likes doing. And I don't expect every little crumb to get, picked up, and I don't expect it all to make it to the trash can, but just the action, again, laying that foundation for being helpful, being a capable individual, and, helping in our family. That's what we're going for. So anytime that we have a chore for the 2-year-old, a lot of times it's just helping out with something. I don't necessarily have really specific tasks with her. I do sort of expect her to help out with specific things, which I'll show you on my calendar here in a minute. But, with her, it's just a lot of helping, go help your sister do this, or, oh, you made a mess. Okay, you need to either clean it up or help clean it up, that sort of thing. And this just helps get her into the pattern of being helpful and learning to pick up after herself and, clean her messes that she makes and different things like that. I'm not asking her to fold the laundry. I'm not asking her to do the dishes. She's 2. But, she does kind of help with those things a lot. I'll go into more detail on that. Now, as far as our older one goes, she does have more specific tasks that she's expected to do, and she's expected to do them more proficiently. So for instance, in the category of you just do this because this is what we do in our family and you're part of our family, she's expected to clear her plates off of the table after dinner. She's expected to at least rinse it off and put it in the sink. She is expected to take out, that's in the other category. She's expected to make her bed. And she's expected to pick up her broom, to clean her room. Those are things that she is just expected to do because that's what you do in our family. Now, there are other things that I know some people include in an actual chore list that I don't necessarily, consider it a chore per se. I think it's just kind of part of our routine. So, for instance, getting your jammies on and brushing your teeth, that isn't stuff that I consider a chore so much as, this is just what you do before you go to bed. But if that's something that works better for you to actually put on a chore list for your kiddo, either just to get them to do it or remind them to do it, then, by all means, go for it. That's just not something that I've necessarily found beneficial for my kids. Okay, so in the category of tasks that Celeste can do to actually get paid for is she has, there's a couple different ways that we do this. So for instance, trash is one of the things that she can get paid for. We have like a dumpster on the end of our street that it's not very far from our house. I can literally see her from my front door. It's no problem. But it's kind of our communal dumpster. So she's expected to take out our trash to the dumpster. She carries trash bags over there. It's something that she is perfectly capable of doing. She is tall enough to reach up and throw it in there. She doesn't normally have a problem. If it's something that really is too heavy or too messy for her, I will help her, of course. But any just average thing, she might whine and complain about it sometimes. But basically the deal is, hey, if you are able to take the trash out every time it needs to go out, every time that I ask you to take it out, and you do this without a whole lot of complaint, and you just make it part of, our weekly routine, on Fridays is when she gets paid for it. How much you pay your kids is something that is going to be totally different for everyone, and it's going to depend on a lot of things. It's going to depend on what your budget is for starters. We don't have a ton of money to be throwing around for starters, let alone to be throwing around to a 7-year-old who half the time just leaves her money laying around anyway. But I know some people who they will have chore charts, and they actually pay their kid per chore. And each chore may have a different price on it. So, you get paid 10 cents for this, and you get paid 50 cents for this, and there's different things on there. And so, like, at the end of the week or day or however they're doing it, they go through and they check off what it is they're doing, and then they sort of have a total of whatever they made for that week, for instance. I've tried things like that in the past, and honestly, Celeste just isn't really to the point where she cares that much. Yes, she does understand the difference between, making a little bit and making more. But she just doesn't really seem to have the drive of, racking up those points or those pennies, so to speak. It just works better for her if she just kind of has like a set, okay, at the end of this week. So for the trash, for instance, if she takes it out willingly for me throughout the week on Friday, she gets paid 50 cents. And that's fine for her. She makes a whole $2 a month, basically. And for her, that's great. That's what she's happy with right now. And she's squirreling away her money. I can do a totally separate video at some point as far as how we have our kids saving money. But I'm going to try and make this video a little bit shorter and just stick to our actual chores thing. So, gotta stay on track here. So just to sort of give you a little preview, this is my block schedule, okay? And I'm not going to get crazy with it, but basically, again, I can kind of go through block schedules at some point really quickly. The idea behind block schedules is that instead of having each task a time or a time limit on everything that you have to do, you break your day up into different blocks. And for me personally, I have 5 different blocks throughout the day. And I have a time. So my morning block is from like 7:30 to 10 a.m. And then I have like 10 to 2, 2 to 5, and then, so on and so forth. But what I do is I have my list of the things that I want to accomplish through the day. And then what I do is anything in here, and sorry, this is an old schedule from the other day that I had laying around. So you're going to see a bunch of stuff crossed out already, which is fine. But just to kind of show you, anything that has like an S or an SA that is circled, that is a task or chore that Celeste and Aurora have to do that is actually on our schedule for that day. And they just have to do it within that block of time. So for instance, for my early morning block, which is 10 to 2, I have my morning block, my morning block, early afternoon block, and my late afternoon block are the 3 that I have. So for my early afternoon block, is what I was trying to say, Celeste had to take out the trash. That was something that was on there for her to do. And then for my late afternoon block, for Celeste and Aurora, please ignore my nails. I know they're terrible right now. I've been working out at the house. For Celeste and Aurora, they had a floor cleanup. That's kind of my general way of saying, you know what, it's time to clean up the floor because toys and clothes and who knows what else, It's their job. They made that mess, so it is their job to go around and clean. So this is a great example of the difference between the 2-year-old and the 7-year-old, the toddler and the kid. They both have the same job, okay? They both have to clean the floor. The difference is that I am expecting the 7-year-old to do a little more thorough job, okay? She is going to be looking under the couch. She is going to actually be putting things back where they belong. Now, my 2-year-old is basically running around behind her, picking up random things and throwing them into just a toy box that I have out in the living room, pretty much for that purpose. So she can go around, pick up something that she knows shouldn't be on the floor, and just throw it in the box. That's all that she's expected to do. Now, a lot of times I have to go back through the box because she will throw a random, trash thing that should not be in there. She'll throw shoes in there, socks in there, random stuff that shouldn't necessarily be in the toy box will end up in there. But the idea is we're just getting her to do it, and she is contributing. And it's something that I actually have on the schedule. So that is pretty much as much of a schedule, per se, that I have for chores. Like I said, in the past, we have done actual chore charts. This is just working better for us right now. Because right now, also, again, within my box schedule, we have our areas where we need to be doing school and we need to be accomplishing other things. I'm also out of the house a lot. I have a lot of other things. We're going back and forth, so there's a lot of traveling that's happening on pretty much a daily basis. So making it all happen, it works better if I just know, hey, between this time and this time, this is the stuff I get done. Oh yeah, and by the way, you have a chore or two that you need to get done within this time as well. And that's just what's working for us right now. If I had a lot more kids, I think doing a more detailed list and having their own chore list would be great. And you know what? When all three of my girls get bigger, I will probably do something like that. But right now, when I have basically 1.5 kids that are doing these chores, this is just working better for us. Okay, so I have one more thing that I do. So like I said, we have sort of things that they just need to get done because that's what we do in our family. And like cleaning the floor up, that's one of those things. We do that actually a couple of times a day. And that is sort of on our daily schedule. And then we also have things that Celeste gets paid for, like taking out the trash, and that's also on our daily schedule. So it's all kind of in one place, and I know how much she's going to get paid at the end of the week for the things that she gets paid for, providing she does them well. This is the other thing that I do. Let's see if I can back up here a little bit. Okay, if you've ever followed any of my Instagram stories or something, you've probably seen this before. This is actually a fridge magnet. I love this thing. I have had other dry erase boards and things like that I have put up on my refrigerator before. But I really love this. I got this off of Amazon. It is a menu board, okay? And I have my weekly menu that I like putting on here, and there's a grocery list section. Down here, there's a section for notes, and right now, this is what I'm using it for. This is our, sorry about the glare. There we go. This is our good job chart. So, and I just kind of throw the date up there. So this is the date of the 24th through the 29th. Because I don't really count weekends on, our chores and things like that. Weekends right now are a little hectic. We're working on this house and we're trying to squeeze in family time, and we have a lot going on. So I'm kind of taking all of our normal daily stuff and keeping it just to our 5-day work week, so to speak. Okay, so what I have on here is, this is our good job chart, and one side is for Aurora. I just have her initials there, and the other side is for Celeste, and I have her initials there. So this is Tuesday morning. So right now they just have one thing each, but this good job chart is just for extra things that they do on their own, pretty much without being asked to, just to help out around the house. So, for instance, Aurora, and yes, she was asked to do this, but this was just kind of a bigger, better deal, so I put it on there for her, is I just put swept up mess. So, what happened was, it was actually this morning, she, I had left her in her high chair a lot longer than she should have been there after she had eaten. And she had this little bowl of oatmeal, and she was sitting there bored for a long time because I was busy doing something. She had torn off the label, and she had just torn little bits off of it. She was, not really doing it on purpose, but she had just made a huge mess, and it was just all over the floor, and it was a mess. So I cleaned her up and I got her down and I told her that she needed to clean up her mess. And all by herself, she went and got her little broom and dustpan. She probably made half a dozen trips back and forth from there to the trash can, but she swept every little tiny piece up. She threw everything away. She got it all in the trash can. She did a really good job for a 2-year-old, you know what I mean? And the floor was completely clean, and she pretty much did that, without me having to tell her step by step. So that went on the list. And then Celeste has switched laundry on here. Without being asked at all, she went into the laundry room and she saw that there was wet laundry in the wash machine that needed to be switched over. So she took the dry stuff out of the dryer, she took it to my room where I do my laundry, and then she took all of the wet laundry out of the wash machine, put it in the dryer, put her dryer sheet in, and turned it on and did the rest of the laundry for me. She did all of that without being asked at all. I never even mentioned anything about the laundry, like, oh, I need to get it done, or nothing like that. She just went and did it. I don't know why exactly, but, one of these little charts kind of inspires stuff. So what happens is I just pretty much just keep listing everything that they do throughout the week. Celeste's list is normally, much longer than Aurora's. But at the end of the week, depending on how many things that they have on there, and, whether or not it was just cleaning up a mess that they should have cleaned up on their own anyway, but maybe I didn't have to ask them this time, or it was doing something, much nicer and bigger, like switching the laundry over for me. That was just so sweet. That was a big happy moment for me this morning. Those kind of things. I will just kind of look it over and make a determination on the spot, like, hey, what does this deserve? Sometimes it's I'll pay Celeste extra. She'll get an extra $1, or something like that. Sometimes it's we'll go, do something that she's really wanted to do, which half the time she just wants to go get ice cream or something like that. But it is sort of just an extra little incentive, a little list to get them to do things without being prompted, without being nagged to do them. Moms, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Even if you have a chore chart and they're all about checking it off or putting the stickers on or however you're doing it, and they're all about getting that allowance at the end of the week, there's still a lot of, you need to do your chores, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to feed the dog, you need to, whatever it is. You're constantly reminding and telling them. So this is just a little incentive for them to kind of start doing things on their own. And even the 2-year-old is starting to catch on. She really is. She's kind of just becoming more independent in that way. And, so far it's working out great for us. It's been fantastic. And again, sometimes there will only be 1 or 2 things on that list at the end of the week. And every once in a while, Celeste, she wants something. Like, she really, wants to go get that ice cream or whatever it is she's been wanting to do. And she, she'll be racking up the stuff on there. And so then at the end of the week, I got to come up with something special. So there's that. So just to kind of reiterate, our whole system is pretty much based on, yes, them being helpful and getting things done, but also to lay a foundation so that transition into being teenagers and young adults and actual adulthood is going to go much smoother for them. It's going to teach them common sense. It's going to give them a work ethic that can follow them through the rest of their life. It's going to lay a good foundation for them. So we kind of just try and keep that in mind anytime that we are giving them any sort of, task or job or any especially repetitive type of task. So yeah, that's pretty much what I have for you guys. If you guys have a system that you absolutely just love, shoot me a comment and let me know. I will go ahead and actually write up a list and put it in the description box below on all of the things that we actually have our kids do, because I haven't necessarily listed all of them in this video. Just so you can see what exactly we are asking of our kids and their ages and what we feel that they are capable of doing. So if you guys like this video, please like it, consider subscribing if you haven't already, and share if you feel like it. New videos every Monday. Until next time, see y'all later.